a lot of people understand ozone therapy. That's had its day for quite some time. And if you don't know, it's taking some part of the blood, whether it's major autohemotherapy or even smaller parts, and mixing that with ozone, actual O3 gas, and putting it back into the body for an array of vast health benefits as well. But can you start by basically explaining what EBOO or EBOO does and what are the different types of therapies that are kind of being combined into one?
Yeah. So there are a whole gamut of different types of ozone therapy, and it could range from simply doing ozone gas. And to get ozone, you basically take oxygen and run it through a current, and out pops a mixture of oxygen plus a small percentage of that is ozone, which is O3. So instead of two oxygen molecules, there's three oxygen molecules. And that ozone has a lot of therapeutic benefits, which we can get into later, but it could be ozone gas in the ear for an ear infection. It could be a vaginal ozone or a rectal ozone. Or again, you could bag a limb and for like a limb infection, right? And then you mentioned MAH or major autohemotherapy, which is you take a certain amount of blood, might be 50 cc's, 100 cc's, but something like that, put it into a bag of saline, and then you inject the ozone gas mixture into it, and it drips back into the body, just like a regular IV, right? But that little bit of blood has been ozonated outside of the body, and then it's dripped back in. And then I call EBOO kind of the creme de la creme version of ozone therapy. It's actually been around for decades, but it's really just making its headway into the US in the past 3, 4, 5 years, especially over the last year or two. And EBOO or extracorporeal, so outside of the body, oxygenation and ozonation. So I'm going to kind of like stand up here, but
Yeah.
basically it's a blood would come out of one arm, go through this machine and through a filter where the blood is mixed with oxygen and ozone, and then it drips back into the other arm. That's kind of an ideal setup situation. And so it's a little bit more intense because you got two IVs, one out, one in, and then you're like looking at your blood going through this machine outside of your body, and that in and of itself can be an experience for some people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those visuals that you don't get to see too much, meaning a lot of times you could see the blood leaving a body but re-entering quickly in a, even if you do ultraviolet blood irradiation, let's say you only pull out 50 cc's and push it back or something like that, you're actually flowing. A lot of people like to make this analogy of basically a full pass and the machines that are used for liver and others. I'm missing the word right now, but
like the 10 pass machine.
Yes. But in reality, this is taking a full course of the blood through the body that goes through the body and basically bypassing a part and going through this machine and adding the ozone within it. Correct. So it's quite a lot of blood that is being exposed to the ozone.
Yeah, it's upwards. It depends on the exact machine and how fast you have the different settings. There's options here, but it can be upward of about 2 liters of blood. So it's not that all of our blood is going through it, but anytime, like the moment that the first amount of ozonated blood hits back into your system, then that blood is touching all of your, like so much of your other blood, right? And so by the time a full course of about 60 minutes has been done, your entire blood is getting exposed to the ozone, although only 2 liters of blood has actually gone through the machine itself. Now, just to give people context, because what is 2 liters? How much is that? When we go and give when we do a blood donation, that's about 500, half of a liter.
Yes.
Right. So it's kind of like 4 blood donations worth going through that machine.
So it's a lot more than even major autohemotherapy and others. It is probably the most intensive, you could say, of systems within the ozone realm.
Yes, absolutely.